Hey everyone, I hope today finds you well. This is Twice Abstracts back again with another video for the Four Knights of the Apocalypse. This manga series, happens to drop every single week, so I'm trying my best to stay on top of it and be here every week because as I said in my last video, there's so much that I want to talk about when it comes to this series alone, let alone the other series, manga, comics, or anything else I'm interested in that I want to do these reviews for and bring some quality and some dynamic and some nuance to the things that I feel like people are missing, which is, the start and cause for this channel. And if you want to support that dream of mine or just support me in any type of way, the best way to do it as of now is just going to be, to like and subscribe. But moving on, as I said, Four Knights of the Apocalypse, chapter 242, titled The Predicament. In this chapter, we'll see that half of the Holy Grail Knights find out that they're not fighting imposters of their parents, but somehow just younger versions of the real ones. In fact, they're already adults, and for Percival, he's meeting his kids at 25 years old. They're 25 years old to him only being about 18 to 19 years old. Actually, looking back at chapter 235, when they were introduced formally to us readers to get all of their ages, of course, they all appear to be a little bit older than the current version of their parents of which they're fighting. We knew coming into this chapter that it wouldn't be much longer before this was all sorted out, but again, as I said in the last video, when I read this, I see some seeds here that I'd like to touch upon because it's not quite sorted out just yet, and I believe the Knights of the Holy Grail have a mission that is just as important to the plot as them being the sons and daughters of the Knights of Prophecy themselves. So let's get into it. And all right, I'm going to summarize before we go any further, just because I want to apply what happens here to the broader context of the conflict here. So let's break it down, starting with the cover of this chapter, which features An and Nazians. They're both sitting down in a big, wide open field with their casual clothes on. An is looking up and in a relaxed position, while Nazians is looking down in a rather guarded position. An seems optimistic, and in slight contrast, Nazians looks anxious, but not sad or worried. This positioning the pair exhibits captures their personalities and their dynamic without Percival, as well as their connection to each other. However, it's most likely supposed to just be foreshadowing of which I surmise is just that Lohengrin and Cartes, their kids, are the first Knights of the Holy Grail to come to the realization they're fighting their actual father. And just real quick, I want to mention that the sons and daughters of the Knights of Prophecy, the Knights of the Holy Grail, they all have weird names that go back to real Arthurian lore, and it's really tough to pronounce some of these names as they're obviously not English. But moving on. That being said, we pick it up where we left off from the last chapter. The Knights of the Holy Grail think that they've been bested, or they themselves have bested the thieving imposters, and that all they have to do is seal the deal is defeat Lancelot. But they didn't, in the fact that Lancelot says something more along the lines of, you could jump me, sure, but you haven't even won your one-on-one fights yet. And boom, just like that, all those arrows shot into Percival, well, he actually used his magic force to cover his body to protect himself, so he sustained no damage at all. He expands that layer of protection around his body into a full sphere of force, knocking back all those arrows. Seeing that force, Lohengrin and Cartes start to reconsider what they believe as him being an imposter. Next, we see that Tristan took no damage from Issei, his own son, who thought he killed an imposter of his father by running his spear through Tristan, but it didn't even leave a scratch. Issei, frustrated, thinks that there's trickery involved. Up next after that, Gawain and her adopted daughter, Lilywhite, and like the other two battles, Gawain just simply used an illusion to do all the fighting and arrogantly told Lilywhite to stay calm. She sustained no damage as well. Back to Percy, the opposition knows exactly what the magical force that Percival is using, one of a life spirit, and so they ask, Percy confirms, and that just about convinces them. But to be sure, Cartes asks if he can check one more thing with him, but before they can do that, a giant eel creature interrupts from the last chapter and swallows Cartes whole. Lohengrin begs someone to help her get her brother back, but her allies won't because they're too focused on their own fights. Percival, doing what he does best, steps in to help Cardes. He knows that Cardes means a lot to Lohengrin, and he starts to take off with her, and they get themselves captured by the eel, though this time it was on purpose in order to save Cardes. They finally have a moment to stop and ask that question, one to confirm if Percival is the real Percival. He says, one is Anglahad and one is Nazians. And that is enough. That's also out of context, but that is enough to know that that is the real him. Now they're on the same page. But for Tristan and Issei, not so much. Issei unleashed a barrage of attacks in his demon form, but none connected. Tristan takes his weapon away and, in my opinion, drops one of the best dialogues he has had in a very long time, because Tristan is always saying something corny. He says that the demon power hurt a lot of people in battle, and because of that, it's a detested power. It's also the power of the man he respects the most and deeply because he used it to protect and fight for the one he loves. According to him, anyone lacking that resolve shouldn't be worthy of speaking about the demonic power. He says this while activating his own demonic power. He strikes Issei in the face, which causes a lot of damage, but his son is hard-headed and he won't go down without a fight. So he musters up with what's left of his strength a moment to strike back at Tristan, but Tristan tanks the hit. He takes the hit without even flinching. He's got Issei mentally and physically beaten, and the chapter comes to a close with a cocky grin on Tristan's face. So let's break it down here for a second. This chapter gets us closer to the truth about the Holy Grail and its futuristic knights guarding it, or what seems like they're guarding it. While Cardes was in the belly of the giant eel alone, we saw him think to himself that he isn't in the world he remembers, as if he's lost. The revelation exposes the fact that one way or another, there is some sort of timeline manipulation being actively at play. We do not know yet, but their presence at this time is unnatural and they just shouldn't exist yet. This also marks an emotional change in our protagonists as they now get a glimpse of what their fates could look like. Tristan currently is engaged, Percival currently married, Gawain has an unrecognized crush on Boleyn, and Lancelot has Guinevere. Momentum will be swung back in favor of the Knights of Prophecy as they're collecting the pieces of who they are that'll serve as an emotional strength and boost against the deadly forces that threaten Britannia, none like the world has ever seen yet. This positions the knight to walk down a favorable path for the fate of Britannia. It's almost entirely implied that the Knights of the Holy Grail do not know where they are and more importantly when they are. We'll have to wait and see what the power of chaos and Cath have to do with the matter, but I personally think, and this is my own prediction, that the Knights of the Holy Grail formed to go find the Holy Grail itself to restore the how they put it, the deform back to right. That's what they said they were here for a couple chapters back. They make the deformity right again. I think the future is really mess up and their mission is to go back and undo that. But I don't think that they understood that meant literally going back in time. But that is my honest prediction there. But no matter which way you slice it, as I said, there's definitely some timeline manipulation going on here. And the reality of Britannia has already been altered on several occasions ever since the end of the last Holy War. Chapter 242 has gotten me pretty excited again to see what's in store. This chapter didn't disappoint, and it also didn't reveal anything new, at least not to us. You know, Percival finding out, what? I have kids? My kids are adults? We knew he had kids, but he's seeing his adult kids before they could even, but rather it's a slow confirmation of a chapter for what we were suspecting. I found the chapter fun and it leaves me anticipating. That's going to do it for today's video though, and as I said earlier, if you'd like to see more content from me, the best way to do that is to like and subscribe. This one was, I want to say a quicker one compared to my last video, but that doesn't really matter. Anyways guys, take care. Bye.